You are strengthening yourself. Vitamin D, vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, whole plants, diversifications of tannins and phenolic compounds and antioxidants. Clearly, that's creating a terrain that is stronger for your immune system to thwart out disease, bacteria, cancer, all of that other stuff.
I think you gotta have a dream.
The School of Greatness.
Really? Yeah.
Please welcome Lewis Howes.
But if you were stranded at an island and you could only eat 5 foods.
5 foods, okay.
For the rest of your life. Okay. Hypothetical question.
Okay.
But it needed to keep you strong and healthy and happy and whole. What would those 5 key foods or ingredients be that you would eat?
Okay.
Kind of these core foods. And every doctor, nutritionist has a different take. So I'm curious your philosophy.
Okay. I love that you didn't ask me this before we turned the camera. I actually love, because it's great that it's spontaneous, but I would say spirulina.
Okay.
Moringa, aloe vera. You've got Moringa, which is the vitamin tree. That is another term for that. So that gives you the idea of the antioxidants, the micronutrients that are actually within the whole leaf of that tree. You've got spirulina, quite possibly one of the most nutrient-dense foods in its raw form. Different than the powder.
How do you get it raw?
There's a great company. They're going to love me right now. I get nothing from it. Raw living spirulina. It comes to you fresh, frozen. It is the only company that I know of that is doing it.
Okay. Moringa. What is Moringa?
Oh, dude.
Well, first off, what does spirulina do for the body when you're taking the raw form?
Well, in the raw form, you've got all B vitamins, including B12, B6, B9, B12, all of that. So
is this a liquid? Is this a...
No, it's like a...
plant? Is this a
root?
It's
grown in fresh water. It's a type of algae, type of blue-green algae. So you've got a mimicking of hemoglobin, red blood cells. You've got chelation ability of heavy metals. You've got obviously the B vitamins, vitamin E, high amount of antioxidants, complete protein in its right form, not a huge amount, because you can also make that argument. Too much protein is also has its detriment. And then you're shifting over to Moringa, which is literally, I've studied and researched Moringa in probably 6 to 7 countries. And it is an extremely strong and powerful leaf. You just grind it up and literally call it the vitamin tree. Or in Africa, they also call it never die. So you take it and you never die.
never die.
Never die.
Moringa, it's a tree or it's a leaf?
You eat the leaf. It's a tree, but you can actually...
It's a moringa tree.
It's a moringa, yeah. So it's technically a bush, but you can let it grow. But you want to, if you're growing it, you cut it off and then it proliferates the leaves and you actually get more harvest out of it. I've done some work with the indigenous people throughout Arizona, and I experimented and grew moringa in Arizona, and it turns out, and I worked with some processors in Palm Desert, friends of mine who have facilities, and I did the top selling moringa that I had in the market with mine, and I blew the nutrition away just because of the understanding I have learned. So the nutrients, calcium, magnesium, potassium, vitamin E, 36 different types of antioxidants.
Wow.
Again, complete protein, right? Now, if you're going to say I get the moringa shrub or tree with me in this journey on an island, now I actually get the oil, the beneficial oil from the seeds, which look like drumsticks. Right? And I can filter water with those seeds and create clean water.
Whoa.
So now you're kind of like
layering it. Okay.
Layering it. And then I
where
would
can you get the moringa from?
So
where's the best source?
I'm telling you, I've been wanting to put moringa out in the marketplace for a long time because I haven't seen great moringa yet. So I don't have a clean source of it.
Okay.
Because when you cut it and you don't process it, dry it and pulverize it and wash it right away, and you transport it over time, the antioxidants, it starts degrading pretty quickly.
So it's not as quality. It's not even worth taking unless it's...
Nah, it's not that it's not worth taking. You're just not quite getting all of the nutrients. I studied the nutrients in those forms. You're just not getting quite as much of the vitamin and antioxidant capacity. And then I think I would pick the king of all fruits with me. So notice I'm stacking up pretty heavily.
So this is number 3 then.
Yeah. So the 3 is probably the king of all fruits, which is durian.
D-U-R-I-A-N. The fruit.
So durian fruit is a spiky, gnarly, Southeast Asia is typically where it's from. It actually can kill people when it falls off a tree, and it actually does. It's got spikes on it. When you crack it open, it looks like...
It's like a coconut with spikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it breaks open, and it looks like brains, and it smells like a sewer.
Oh, man.
And it's illegal in Southeast Asia to actually bring it in public buildings.
To eat it because it smells so bad.
You can't bring it in on buses. You can't bring it on planes. You can't bring it in hotels because it smells so bad.
So is the nutritional value is so high though?
So high.
Really?
Yeah. It's antioxidants again, huge array of vitamins, and they call it the king of all fruits because of its interesting composition.
Can people get that here?
There used to be a group that was sending it frozen here. I'm not sure that they still are in existence. And I used to eat it dried. So there was a group
so it didn't smell as bad, probably.
Didn't smell as bad, and my God, it is my favorite fruit.
It tastes good.
Yeah.
Smelly brains tastes good.
Some people don't like it. But if you like it, it's one of the favorites. So so that one for sure.
Number 4.
And I think I would pull in the king of all mushrooms. This is a royalty we're talking about. You just asked the superfood hunter what you're going to bring in. So I would bring in the king of all mushrooms, and that is Chaga mushrooms. And I named my dog Chaga. So there you go. The reverence that I have for Chaga mushrooms, probably the most highest antioxidant whole compound mushroom in the world. So it's going to keep, I'm on this desert island. I'm definitely going to keep my immune system cranking. I'm going to keep the cortisol levels low. I'm going to keep my endocrine system balanced. So I'm going to sip on chaga tea all day, every day.
Wow. Okay, and number 5, and where can we get that?
Chaga mushrooms everywhere. I mean, Taro at Four Sigmatic has a dual extracted chaga. You can also get chaga. There's a great company, Rose Mountain Herbs, that does a lot of harvesting well, and you can get the full chunks of chaga, and you can simmer that for hours and hours and hours and keep that just simmer.
Drink it as a tea.
Yep, you drink it as a tea. You can add cacao with it, a little sweetener. It's decadent and delicious.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
King of mushrooms, chaga mushrooms, and number 5?
Yeah, number 5, let me see. I would probably pick, I'm going to go back to the adaptogens. It is a berry, sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, and salty. Have all 5 flavors.
In one berry?
In one berry.
What's it called?
Called Shazandra.
Shazam.
If you want to name your first child,
Shazandra.
Call her Shazandra.
How do you spell that?
Oh man, there's a few different spellings, but it's Schizandra, something like that.
Shazandra.
Yeah.
Berry.
Berry. So it's this beautiful berry that grows in some sovereign areas near Tibet and the eastern area of China. I've been there.
You've picked the berries and eaten them raw.
I have absolutely picked the berries and eat them raw. You can ferment and make even a decadent little wine out of it. I've celebrated with the remote China people in that area with Shizandra celebrations when they've harvested it. So it is, and traditional Chinese medicine, it has been used probably is one of the oldest in record adaptogenic herbs that traditional Chinese medicine use. And they use it as kind of a base because it's so well balanced and it balances out your body over time, both in stress response, cortisol, endocrine, overall strength, and then of course stress. But if you're on an island, you don't have to worry about it unless some animals are going to come and jump on you. So I think that's it, man. I think I'm beautiful with eating that and sipping on that and eating those berries.
Okay. Those are the 5 main things you would eat. Okay, so for how many of these do you actually have on a regular basis?
I have all of those on a regular basis, almost for sure weekly, except durian.
Okay.
I have a hard time getting durian myself unless I'm in Southeast Asia at some point, Bali, or
then you're getting it a lot.
Then I'm
overloading it.
I'm paying someone to
go get it,
to go
bring
get
it down.
it
Wow.
for sure.
It's that good.
And then that's my breakfast every day.
Wow.
Yep.
So for the rest of the humans, what would be a starter kit to start optimizing your health? Where should we think about in terms of our health if we're a little bit overweight or not feeling the way we want to? How would we start to assess our health to get on a better path for a journey moving forward? In terms of, everything you covered in this book, SuperLife, but also in Down to Earth, you cover a lot of things in there. What would be the kind of starter kit you think from that journey?
Well, you can say the normal things of like, there's a lot. That's a big question because, making sure you're sleeping well.
Sleep, yeah.
Making sure you're turning off your electronics, making sure you're doing those things, which is also like, it would take me 30 minutes to even unpack all of what that is. But then I would go to water. Of course, water is a big thing. And so water...
which was the most fascinating episode I think you guys had. Yeah,
it was pretty great. And that was 1/2% of what water is.
Wow.
And I've studied water. And I've been shoulder to shoulder with I've 4 days in Bulgaria at a water conference with some of the greatest researchers of living today doing research that will blow your mind on water. So
not all water is created equal.
Not at all. And water is influenced by everything. So everything it's around. Our field, our energetic field, our frequencies, the electronics, the pipes it's going through, or in nature, Victor Schauberger, incredible researcher and observer of nature, and watched and was one of the first people to understand the vortative nature of water, that it doesn't move in a straight line.
It's flowing.
It's flowing and vortating.
Like a snake or
so it's a vortexing, and that is structuring it, plus the electromagnetic field naturally of this big battery that we sit on, which is the Earth. And then the influence of the fields of the sun, right, is creating electrolysis. So it's helping, as well as chelating the minerals. So all of that being said, it's structuring the water. And so that is alive water with high oxygen, high amount of hydrogen, and essential minerals. So now what you're really talking about is you're talking about a conductive live force that you're taking in, because we are 70 trillion batteries. We are an electrical being. Same with and then so water, deconstruct the water and then build the water back up, because unless you can find your own spring, that's number one. If it's clean and it doesn't have pesticides or herbicides or runoff or whatever weird chemicals we put into our world, right? We have 90,000 new chemicals being emitted in our world every year. Of that, 9% is tested. So that is on our planet, in our waterways. So that being said, want to make sure that people understand, if you have fresh, clean, alive spring water, that's the best. but it's very hard.
How many springs are there in America?
Exactly, and so for most of us, very hard to have access.
Is there such a thing as clean water that can make you sick?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Of course, on the one hand, but there is no water that is the same, and there's water isn't 100% clean unless your reverse osmosis and distillation is probably your best bet to make sure that nothing's traveling in it. But they absolutely have energetic fields that are influencing the water. So Dr. Emoto's work, when he took X-ray, or he took photographs of the geometry of water when they put love on a bottle and all of that stuff. That work has been proliferated by scientists all over the world. And Dr. Luc Montagnier did a DNA test of physical DNA in water and then a glass next to it. And it just being in proximity, the physical DNA transmitted the frequency information in the water next to it. As a
and two different glass jars, just by being in proximity.
Yeah. So it picked up the energetic fingerprint of the DNA that was in the one glass. The point to that is, yeah, that's how. Think of water as an empty hard drive. If we put an empty hard drive right here and we plugged in our computers, would it decipher or would it reject input that you would have or I would have? We could put completely different things. It would just accept whatever information
we're
is being put
in.
Yeah. Exactly. Water's the same thing.
No.
Absolutely. So physically, chemically, biologically, and quantumly, they're showing that water is being influenced by all of those things. And they believe, and they're already working on this, that a droplet of water is equal to enabling to be able to have and store the amount of hard drives it would take to fill up this room in one droplet of water. The ability
the amount of what? The energy?
The amount of water that you could infuse and store information.
It's just one droplet.
One droplet as much as the room we're sitting in.
How is that possible?
I don't know how it's possible. But this is what they're discovering. Here's the thing of all of those.
Who's they, just so I'm aware?
So I attended, Dr. Jerry Pollack, you should have him on. Dr. Gerald Pollack, or Jerry Pollack, he wrote a book called The Fourth Phase of Water. Now we're getting into it heavy right here, right? So I'm having to pull back because our whole episode would be about water.
That's great though, yeah.
But Gerald Pollack discovered that there's what's called, and now he's influenced the way all researchers are looking at water because he discovered a fourth phase of water.
What's the first three phases?
Well, the first phase is water, liquid, steam, right? And then ice, of course, right? And so
the fourth phase,
and I'm going to try to make this very simple. What he discovered was when water came up against a hydrophilic surface, meaning that it was not accepting water, it wasn't
bouncing off.
Yeah, bouncing off. So it's coming up
like
a cell.
this.
So if it came up against this and it just didn't infuse itself right in, or a cell. So he was looking at a cell membrane, which is essentially fatty acids. He discovered that through a microscope, there was a zone that the water pushed the electrons and protons away from each other.
What does that mean?
Means that it demonstrated battery-like activity. It created polarity when it came up against this. It created, this is going to blow your mind, it created energy by just coming up to that, by pushing those electrons away from each other. And this was called, what he termed, an exclusion zone. Within that tiny band, the protons and electrons, battery-like activity. There was distillation water. Essentially, it created clean water.
So water that goes up against this mug
Yeah,
inside
potentially.
could go against it
Yeah.
and create this.
So that was monumental, because what that shows us is when you are hydrated and it's interacting with cells, that literally creates energy of every cell of the 70 trillion plus cells we have. So literally, and you look through the research, what is the number one consequence of dehydration? Overall fatigue. Look it up.
Being tired.
Bingo. And you now add on top of it, Lewis, nearly about 7%. So let's call it 10%. About 30 million people in the United States do not drink an ounce of water a day.
Really?
Swear.
Wait, how many people?
Nearly 30 million people
Don't drink water.
don't drink an ounce of water a day.
They're just drinking
So you
Coke
wake up, you
or-
reach out, you're like, oh, I'm fatigued. I reach out for the stimulant. I reach out for the coffee. I reach out for whatever.
So they're drinking water in different forms, but not they're drinking Coke or coffee.
Exactly. And
Or
they're
juice or something else.
and they're probably not eating any fresh fruits or vegetables, which actually has this exclusion zone water in it already. So when you're eating fruit, nature has already sorted it, so you actually can get quite hydrated by the watermelon, by the fresh oranges, by the apples, by the things, by the grapes, by the so that's a type. So Gerald Pollack created a water conference. I think it's 15 years going. And I was at the 2018 in Bulgaria. So in between us filming, we were all over the place for 3.5 months. And I said, screw it, I'm going to this water conference.
You were filming and you left.
Well, we had a 2 weeks where we had a break before we were going to our next location. So I took off to Bulgaria. And
You're already in Europe, so you might
as well.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm hanging out with the smartest people in the world. I couldn't even follow 10% of the heavy science that they were getting into, but I met a lot of incredible researchers to the point where I'm creating vortexing machines and jugs and stuff to be able to create exclusion water and to create live water again. So I have some of that stuff from researchers from that conference that I'm bringing out in the world so water deadens as it's going through our pipes. It loses that energy, that exclusion zone, that type of live energy. So essentially, we're drinking, even though it's clean, we need to clean it. RO, reverse osmosis with distillation, add a pinch of Himalayan crystal salt. Make sure that you're creating it and you're looking through the lens of voltage. Our bodies are alive. It's electrical. It's voltage. Cells work through voltage. When we get injured, our body increases cellular voltage to increase healing potential. So, and that could be looked at as pH. That in the body is looked at as pH. And a lot of people don't realize that is just the measurement in that form of voltage, right? So when you look at water, you need to make it alive again so that it's conductive and so that your body doesn't have to steal things from inside and zap your energy. So if I take live water, boom, it's going to go into my cells and it's going to allow for hydration to increase. So anyway, that's a tiny bit, but I spent a lot of time with those guys, and it's a deep rabbit. Even in the show, we chose to go into Lourdes and just talk about something's going on with water.
So for 99% of people who get bottled water, they drink out of a tap, maybe they have a glass jug that comes to them once a week, whatever, like myself. 99% of America and probably the world, 99.9%, what can they do to make their own water more alive, more efficient, more optimized? Is there a way when you have just bottled water or water out of tap to do this yourself at home?
The first thing is clean it on a deep level. So you want to reverse osmosis or distillation.
Some type of filter.
Yeah, but these are, RO is a type of membrane that doesn't allow for anything to get through.
Got it.
And distillation is liquid, vaporization, reconstitute again. So nothing gets to carry with it. So you're cleaning it. Now, very important not to just drink that water. Okay? Because now you need the electrolytes. You have to have the electrolytes. So there's some electrolyte companies out there. Most are kind of not okay. So the easiest thing for people to do, unrefined salt, crystal salt, Himalayan salt, a pinch per glass, a half a teaspoon per gallon will now create a conductive thing. Now, make sure you just buy this filter. You can get these things for a few $100. Eliminate plastic.
Which filter? What's the filter called?
So I even have a discount for people. So AquaTrue is a great reverse osmosis. So if you go to darinolien.com and my affiliates, they give all people who want to order that like $150 off. That is, it's not even meant to plug. It's just great that people get a hell of a discount.
Right.
And for a few $100, you've eliminated your need to go outside your home.
AquaTrue.
AquaTrue.
And you put the water through that, or it's in like a...
Yeah, you pour it in the back, and then it goes through an RO system, and boom, comes out right there.
And then you put the salt in it afterwards?
Boom, put the salt in it.
And that's good drinking water.
And now that's good. So now I would also take it up a notch. Buy like, they're gonna love me. I get nothing from this Blue Bottle Love. So now they've took Emoto's work and they've written gratitude, love, etched it in the crystal glass.
Ooh.
Right? And they've created cobalt blue, which some of the science has shown that blue, that deep blue, is the frequency of healthy cells. So now you've got the etched words that is infusing that, and you can take those bottles and put that in the sun, and now you're supercharging.
Should water be in the sun?
If it's in glass, it can be.
If it's in plastic.
If it's in plastic, you are leaching the many chemicals. Keep in mind, plastic is petroleum. It's oil. And then to make it malleable, they use a mimicking compound that mimics estrogen. So the softer a plastic, run away from, right?
The harder,
better.
Or
BPA free, right?
That's okay?
That's better, right?
Okay.
Glass, as much as you can. Hard plastic, pretty much okay,
yeah.
Right? So that's an easy way, and then when I get some of these vortators out, these things are incredible.
How do we get one of those?
It's coming soon. Probably when this is out, I'll have them available.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you put it through the vortator?
So yeah, so you literally, it's all mathematics, this little vortator, and it's literally spinning. It's creating a tornado in your water and increasing oxygen, which we need, helps the immune system, helps the body, helps the absorption, activates mitochondria, all that stuff, and then you're increasing the hydrogen as well.
Let's just say you're...
making the...
let's just say you don't have all this, and you got a plastic bottle right now, a soft plastic bottle, normal bottle that you see everywhere. Can you swirl it and oxygenate it yourself?
Yes.
And get some benefits?
Something. I would shake it up, make it alive.
Shake it.
Yeah, and get a marker and put love on it.
Right. You think that's going to...
Yes.
Within 10 seconds, putting love on a bottle is going to make it that much more magnetic.
Listen, it's an intention too.
Of course.
Absolutely, right? So think about this. If I've intended it, now I've also intended it for my own body. And what are we? We're mostly water. So if that is my intention, that is a prayer, and that is activated. That is not passive, just doing whatever. That is activating, for sure.
Yeah.
So listen, everything, health is not magic bullets. It's not the perfect superfood. It's everything. It is the small things added up over time. It is setting your mark, the 1 degree, the next degree, the next degree, and setting your trajectory, right, towards what you want. So you don't have to get overwhelmed with this. Just adopt what you can. What resonates now, adopt that. And then as you become healthier, more activated, more energy, more all. Then you'll naturally go, okay, cool, now what? Okay, cool, now what? Okay, cool, let me eat more plants. That's another thing. I would just say, eat more plants.
Yeah.
Just start increasing the amount of diversification of colors in your life, because that is information for your body. Information. Reductionism, I can go into, it's got compounds. Each color is a phenolic compound. It's an antioxidant. Each other color operates a different antioxidant or tannin or everything else. All you have to remember is it's beautiful diversification that's giving you different minerals, different vitamins, different antioxidants, and different information, right, for your body. And also, when it's fresh, fruits, vegetables, you're getting that structured water.
Yeah.
That's information. That's nature communicating directly to you through that water.
What do you say to the? I'm hearing you say eat more plants. There seems to be a thesis and a trend that is becoming more of the only eat meat. It's the purest protein. People getting super shredded and lean, saying they have cleared up skin conditions, saying they're more focused, clearer. What's your take on that for the people that are swear by the meat only, no vegetables, no fruits, just meat?
I'm scared for them. I really am. To me, that's insane. And unfortunately, all this stuff is political. I never take those political stances. There's a lot of great people that take those, because the reason I say political, because scientifically, T. Colin Campbell, China study, came out with another one, The Future of Nutrition, goes through the 100 years of compromised research and dogmatic around animal protein is the perfect protein. It's a bunch of bullshit. You can get all of the nutrients from plants, every single one of them. So I would say, if anyone's curious, check out T. Colin Campbell's new book, The Future of Nutrition. You'll blow your mind. Also, look at Mastering Diabetes. It doesn't have to have anything to do with diabetes. But Robbie and Cyrus, masters and a PhD in biochemistry, they break down what is actually the culprit. And the culprit is animal protein. The science is absolutely clear. Once you're over 10% protein, you are turning on cancer genes.
Wow.
Right? And it's clogging up those receptors for insulin. So you can argue all you want, and these guys will put all the science, but these guys, T. Colin Campbell, do you realize the 60 years of research on every major panel, peer-reviewed everything, and this guy has dedicated his life to, of anyone on the planet, he's done more research around animal-based protein than anyone ever.
Wow.
And then you have Dr. Walter Longo, who was in our Sardinia episode. Sit down with him between episodes, and he's like, the science is clear. He's saying the same thing. Over 10, 15%, boom.
What does that mean, over 10, 50%?
Of your overall calories of animal-based protein.
If you're eating more than 15% of animal protein daily.
Of your overall calories.
Of your calories.
Yep. It's turning on cancer genes.
Wow.
So listen, these guys, if you change anything up, your body's, we have proven, this is what we've proven. The body is adaptive. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. I can get myself, you know how many ways I can get myself shredded to 5% body fat?
Not eat, meat.
I could do a million
no
different,
sugar,
back when I was out of college, I trained bodybuilders just to get them that little extra. So I can manipulate all kinds of things to get people shredded. What the hell does that have to do with health? Nothing. Especially when you're running down, you're sprinting towards cancer.
Wow.
Like, obviously, there's people that are heavy into this. They're friends, they're colleagues, and I read their material. So for me, there is no amount. You can keep whatever it is that you want. You don't need to change. I'm not here to change anyone. Anyone listening to this, do what you want. I'm not here to change you. Nothing shows. I have proven as a career, 20 years of running around this planet, every nutrient I can find in a plant and thrive and have pleomorphic effect, having infinite effect on my body, way more than a very hard thing to digest. Flesh of another being is extremely difficult to break down. And that is if you're dialed in, if your body is perfect and it's got the certain amount of hydrochloric acids, it's got a certain amount of protease enzymes to break all that down. All of these things and a whole lot more has to be ideal because it's not going to do it perfectly. So it is a huge strain on the body, not to mention it floods the body with the immune response when you're taking in, because you've just taken in something that's dead in your body. The body has to respond. Pathogens, bacteria, that microbial and immune response has to show up. So your first response is your body's like, holy shit, there's a lot of opportunity to die here.
Wow.
Right? So not to mention this other point, and then, it's a big rabbit hole. This other point that I realized when I first started, I've always loved animals. That wasn't the primary reason, although it lines up with me because I don't want to kill anything. My primary thing was realizing that amino acids in our human DNA is extremely valuable because we're recycling cells all the time.
Yeah.
The whole body is recycling all the time. The liver is going through, I think people have to fact check this, but I think it's every week or every couple weeks. So the body's replacing itself. And so when autophagy is happening, your body is sloughing off cellular debris that it no longer needs. Your body's breaking down those cells to have amino acids, and it's recycling the amino acids because it doesn't want to get rid of all the amino acids because it's so hard to come by.
Right.
So their body is recycling and replacing and all of this stuff all the time. So the need for protein has gotten so crazy without this understanding of recycling that the body also has. And then when you add on top of it turning on through very clear science, Esselstyn, Ornish, Dr. Ornish, Dr. Michael Greger, and then of course T. Colin Campbell, on and on and on. These guys are just sitting in the science, non-dogmatically. You add all that up, I don't need. And then add up my career, I've found all the great plants. I've found not all, because humbly, we haven't found anything, which is why we need to preserve our environment, because there's so much medicine as food out there that we're just utterly destroying. So all of that being said, I just say, do whatever you want, but
be aware. Yeah.
Eat more plants.
Yeah.
And carnival guys, it's like, I'm not even going to waste energy. You've already decided. There's no conversation. You've decided. I don't want to argue about it. I just want to live and thrive. And
when did you stop eating meat?
It was probably 16 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did you see a big shift in your energy and everything else?
Yeah, my football players
eat a lot of meat, a lot of
all that stuff. Trained like crazy, meat. I was getting digestive, acid reflux. And I started like, whoa. And then I started food combining. That was the first time I kind of separated, like, I'm going to eat fruit alone because it shows digestively much better. I'm going to eat so that's going to be alone. So I'm not going to combine that with my meals. Now I'm going to eat my meals. I'm going to eat my protein first. So that has the first chance of the hydrochloric acid breakdown. So then that was the first time I really separated stuff. And then I was like, I feel better. Definitely helping. And then I got rid of, the beef, the chicken. I too was like shut off the idea that this was a living creature.
It's hard. Yeah.
You have to go someplace to do, because if you were there cutting and slitting the throat, I guarantee you're going to
eat it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I started, and then fish. Then I slowly, and then I was like, all the while I'm feeling better. So finally, then I dive back into seeing that recycling side of the amino acids in the body. I'm like, I don't think we need as much. So I stopped the fish as the last thing, and then I increased. So I was doing triathlons and biathlons as well as strength training still. And this was, only 15, 16 years ago. And so then I was like, I'm recovering like a 18-year-old.
Really?
Yeah. And to this day, like, the kind of people I work out with.
Yeah.
So I still pick up dumbbells I was training with when I was 20. And I'm just like, the strength, and I'm not trying to be strong anymore, but I'm throwing around, the strength is still, it's incredible. It's really incredible. Yeah.
For those that are going to, this is interesting, food separation. For those that are like everything you're saying and understand, but they're going to keep eating meat. It's just, they're going to keep eating meat.
It's too bad.
I eat meat, and
Sure.
I keep telling myself, being out here for 10 years, the vegans and the plant-based have been influencing me to eat more and more vegetables. And maybe one day, and I'm more mindful and conscious of it, but maybe one day we'll see.
Hey, I got a challenge for you. I joined this other, hashtag 8 meals. Okay, so we've done this carbon sequestering, and if you substitute 8 meals a week, that's literally 1 plus 2 on a day. 1 a day.
Vegetarian.
Yeah, vegan.
Vegan.
No dairy either.
No eggs or cheese.
No.
Man, I love those eggs.
I know, but you're also not depriving. So that's why that's why I jumped on to help these people, because it's only looking at it as these meals, and then now you're being a responsible person. Not only is it benefiting your health, you're getting diversification of more plants. For sure, you're going to be that's a win, right? And it's going right to the environment, because if everyone did that, we would sequester all of the CO2 in the United States. Think about that. Think about that.
Replacing 8 meals.
Replacing 8 meals.
A week.
You do it, I do it, and everyone else do it. You know how much? And we're going to create a calculator of how much CO2 we can sequester.
Wow.
Because that's just an insane thing. The amount of methane.
So that makes more sense. I mean, saying 8 meals a week vegetarian, that's more doable for people.
Plant-based.
Plant-based,
Full plant-based.
sorry.
Yeah.
So not vegetarian.
No.
Plant-based.
Full plant-based.
No cheese or egg.
Full food plant-based. So no dairy and
Vegetables
eggs
and fruits only, and seeds and nuts.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
And it's so easy, dude. You can
you can do it. Yeah, for sure. So 8 meals a week is something to get started to try. See how you feel.
I'm going to throw that on you. I'm going to see if you're going to take that challenge.
I'll be to do that, yeah. I can do anything for a week.
No, I'm saying, like, keep that up.
Oh, forever.
See how it goes in
We
that
try
week.
for 30 days.
You want to do that?
I can do it for 30 days.
Are you putting that on there?
I'm in. I'll do it for 30 days, yeah.
Awesome.
8 meals a week for 30 days.
Yes.
Plant-based only.
Yes.
I can do that.
Nice.
So a question about separating food. I'm curious. In Ohio and Minnesota, you grow up, you just mash it all together, you eat it all down. Mashed potatoes, the veggies, the steak, the pizza, you just throw it all in.
Yeah.
Is there more power in eating certain foods first or last, or separating them as opposed to combining?
100%.
How should we eat then? What should be first and last?
Well,
should it be the protein first? Like I was hearing you say something.
yeah, so this is the simple version, because this can get heavy. The simple version is fruit alone. So
don't eat fruit with a meal.
Do not eat.
Why?
Because it takes other digestive enzymes when you start, and hydrochloric acids, when you, especially if you have digestive issues, it can mess up different rates. So for example, when you're eating fruit, the digestion process, aside from chewing.
So don't put peanut butter or almond butter on your fruits.
Listen, I do that too. I put Baruka, not
I want some of that
Baruka
butter
too.
too.
I'm going to send you some.
I want some.
I wish I had some with me, because of course I would have brought it to you. It is so good. But I do. So this is something, I would say this, if people are having any digestive issues at all, then I would do this for a period of time. Fruit alone. Now listen, I love a Baruka butter on a piece of apple. Like, oh my God, it's the best, right? So that's fine. But if you're having any digestive issues, fruit alone. And then if you are choosing, let's call it a protein.
Because if you eat fruit alone, your body should just be able to digest and get that out quickly.
Yeah, so if you're eating fruit, the digestive process, aside from chewing, because that's the digestive process, you have digestive enzymes called amylase that's breaking down the carbohydrates. So that's why we need to chew more, not chew, chew, swallow.
That used to be my life.
Right? Yeah. So
just swallow.
Yeah.
One bite, get more in there.
Very difficult for the body to...
I used to have digestive problems for a long time, probably like 20 years. It wasn't until actually I started to get Invisalign about a year and a half ago, because my back teeth have actually never touched. I got 8 teeth removed when I was 17, and then my jaw kind of grew in a certain way where only my front 2 teeth touched, and I've never felt my back teeth until about 4 months ago touching. Really? And it's been mind-blowing how I've been able to digest and actually not feel constipated.
For sure.
Most of the time.
You haven't been able to chew?
Because I'm actually able to chew my food.
That's amazing.
And I'm feeling like it's able to go to the bathroom way easier. Like, it's crazy when adjusting teeth have done for my ability to digest as well.
Yeah, think about that. I mean, it's the most primal thing we need to do for our breaking down of food. But if we're if we're not chewing 20, 30 times per bite, you're swallowing whole food and expecting this very delicate digestive process to have enough time to pull all of that stuff to break it down, because it has to break down. Like think of like the protein, the animal-based protein. You got to break it down into the amino acids.
Shreds, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot of energy to do that. And so it's all food. So we really have to take more responsibility to that's a first line of digestive defense, is chewing more appropriately and not allowing that process to be just chew through stress. And not to mention what you're doing while you're eating is also...
The intention behind why you're eating,
The vagus nerve is connected directly to the brain and the digestive process and so if you're stressed, you're going to throw off the microbial system, and
that's why people pray before they eat, or they say, let's give thanks, let's give gratitude.
Do some nose breathing, right? Drop you right down into parasympathetic. Even Dr. Huberman, the neuroscientist, talks about this. Take a 2 breath in. So I would say breathe out.
Yeah, we had him on talking about that. It's really good.
Little gratitude.
And then eat. So it's the separation. Let's get back to the separation.
Yeah.
What should it be? You've got a mixture of foods on your plate.
Okay, so let's call it a protein. So let's say.
So burritos are the worst thing.
It can be challenging if you're already compromised. That's a challenge. Like, our body's adaptive, so burrito is one of my favorite foods.
So good, man.
Right?
But you got the rice, you got the beans, you got the protein, you got the cheese, you got the tortilla wrap. It's like...
Yeah, so listen, unfortunately, for anyone eating meat, it's a really bad combination. Right? Okay. Any plant-based protein's a lot easier for the body to break down. Yeah. Even nuts, seeds, legumes, whatever. It's a lot easier to break down. Plus, everything, let's just say this, every plant, every fruit, every vegetable has protein in it. Everything. Your banana, your acai, your grapes. It is a whole food, right? So we have to stop this compartmentalizing and reductionism.
Protein and then vegetables.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you are eating meat and all of that stuff, meat first. Like if it's on let's say you have a salmon on a salad, eat all your salmon first.
Don't eat the carbs first.
Don't eat the salads, and don't eat certainly breads. Don't eat the damn bread. Right? But as
meat first, what did that do?
Yeah, so that gets you back into that dominance of hydrochloric acid and energy that the body takes, and the longevity that it will take for your body to break down the meat, right? It's going to take 6 to 8 hours for that other being that you just consumed to break down into amino acids, right?
So put the thing that's the hardest to digest in first.
Yes. And then you can follow it up with veggies and all of that stuff.
Potatoes, whatever you're putting in there.
Right. So that's the easy version of
Meat first.
Yeah.
If you're
fruit alone.
If you're plant-based, what would you eat first?
Again, fruit alone. And then I don't worry much about it.
You can mix it all in. It's all plants.
Right. Or for me, if I'm eating like tempeh, which is fermented tofu, I'll eat that first.
Yeah.
You know? But I... Like, listen, I'm coming from that where I had a lot of issues because of all the heavy meat. When I started breaking that down, cleared it up immediately. Now, since plant-based, I've never had that ever again. The digestive disruption and stuff like
so what do you speak to when the meat eaters of the world who swear by meat say, well, this is what our ancestors have been doing for thousands of years?
That's an easy point of view. If you talk to the Paleolithic researchers, that's such a convenient conclusion. That's not true. That you can, run up to the Inuits because that is where they've been living, and then use that as some stupid example. Well, just because you've adapted to it doesn't mean that it's ideal. We have to keep going back to that. Just because the body is an amazing adaptive machine, which has allowed us to, populate anywhere and everywhere and eat almost anything, doesn't mean that it's adaptive. Now, if you look at the longevity research, if you look at the centurions, and if you look at that, I would lean on that more than I would lean on a convenient way to say, because you can easily make the argument. The diversification of the big brain also was the foraging ability. You're finding, without less effort, foraging plants and tubers and nuts and seeds way more than it takes to you getting a little clan together and running down a caribou or something, so
or setting a trap or something. Yeah.
It's just too convenient to say things like that.
Do the centurions eat meat? Some of them eat meat, right?
Very little. Yeah.
It's mostly fish or eggs here and there or something.
Yeah. So it could be, I've talked to some of the centurions, and so the work of Dr. Longo and Dr. Pez and Dan Buettner's work, you'll find that
the blue zones.
You'll find very, very clearly that it's naturally 10 to 15%. They don't go over, and it's so interesting.
10 to 15% meat
of
calorie intake.
Of calorie intake for protein, and once
is meat or no?
It's just protein.
Oh wow!
And every so often they may have meat, but
it's not a daily thing.
No. Maybe once a month, kind of a thing. So it's that. Again, it's like I look at that longevity and what the longevity shows up as. To say that you knew what the Paleolithic people were doing is we have ran around this globe and we've all thrived and we have all different ethnicities. And to say this overarching statement is kind of ridiculous. Cheers.
Oh man, you're passionate about this, huh?
Of course.
Yeah, and you actually say this in your simple to-do list. Get more than about 50% of daily total calories from protein. Yeah. That's the first line you have here from your simple to-do list.
You just open that up.
The first thing, you went right to that line. Get no more. Maybe that's on every page as a reminder. Make sure you only do this. What happens if we get 80% of our total calories from protein? Is it just creating more cancerous cells? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, yeah. So I mean, that's the work of T. Colin Campbell and Longo and a bunch of other people, and that's where you turn on. So this is the epidemiology side of it. This is the DNA. What we're doing, the environment we're creating, is turning on potentials of DNA or turning them off. And so what happens is it turns on these cancer-promoting genes. Very clearly. Like, people can argue with me all you want. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to point you to these guys that have dedicated their life to this research, unbiased, They're researchers. And what they're doing is they're pushing back against industry that wants to keep this narrative alive. And they're not looking at the research. It's the same thing of us saying right now, the censorship that's happening. Like, why do we need to censor anything? Just let it out and let people, as intelligent people,
decide, yeah.
It's like coming to you and saying, you know what? Cars kill. Don't go into your car today. Well, you can make that choice. You know that you could get in a car accident and you could get hurt or injured or die. But you're making that choice. So let's get all of the information. That T. Colin Campbell, that's what he's saying. That Dr. Ornish, Dr. Estelson, all of these guys are saying, look at the research. Don't shut this off. Look at what this research is. And that's the dogma that keeps alive. If you're not open-minded to look at the research, then let's not argue about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste my energy. I don't want to talk to, like, if you want to fight, like, fight with yourself against that wall. Like, I don't want to do it. Like,
what's your thoughts about, in your mind, what's worse, meat or sugar?
Meat. Hands down. Well, I mean, what do you mean by sugar? Because if I'm assuming
Refined
you mean
sugar.
Yeah, I would allow, if I am not clogging my cholesterol is still a debate. Cholesterol, let's be clear, cholesterol and meat is not correlated to high cholesterol in you and killing you. It is the protein. Okay, so I would gamble, and the protein is gobbling up and challenging the insulin receptors and running us towards diabetes. And Robbie and Cyrus in Mastering Diabetes lay this out scientifically. The third of their book is science, right? Peer-reviewed. I would gamble on not eating meat and taking in sugar more than I would.
Really?
I do not want to play that Russian roulette game.
Wow.
No way.
But sugar, it seems like, also is causing a lot of.
Of course, you gave me two
sickness.
horrible. I mean, two challenges.
Yeah.
But if you were, for sure, I'll take sugar for sure.
Really?
Yep.
Is sugar easier to burn off, or it's not as damaging to the body in your mind as eating meat?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like if I have a healthy, if I'm not being compromised from meat in my insulin reception, then I'm gonna gamble on all the other things that I can do in the sugar realm, and I can stay active. I can burn that off.
Yeah.
I can keep plants active. I can keep the stress down from that plants. I can keep, bring in my Schizandra, bring in my Chaga, bring in my Ashwagandha, bring in my Reishi, bring in my lion's mane to help the brain deal with the amount of sugar. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of other artillery I could use to combat the sugar side of it.
And what about fasting? What's your views on that?
I love fasting.
Are you an
Absolutely.
intermittent fasting guy? Are you a 24, 48 hour, 1 week fast? What's your strategy?
I'm a big fan of fasting for sure. And Dr. Bragg's way back, I will give kudos to him. His first books on fasting. I was fasting. When I started fasting, it was 22 years ago or so. And I was doing 1 day, 36-hour fast. So I would pick a Friday and I would, stop eating the Thursday, all day Friday, and start eating on Saturday because I wanted energy on the weekends.
Yeah, of course.
And I love now that I just call it a fast, water fast, right? I do love big windows so now I'm a 2 meal a day person.
Okay.
So I'm a huge amount of fruit bowl in the morning, around 10. I'm done, and then I'll eat around 4 p.m. That's my second meal, and that's tons of plants, big salads, Baruka nuts. Hell, maybe I'll even make a burrito, right? And combine it all.
And then you're done.
Then I'm done, yeah.
5 o'clock, you're done.
Yeah.
You stop eating
Yeah.
until 10 a.m. Fruit.
Yeah.
My friend Jesse Itzler is all about that. He says fruit until noon.
Yeah.
That's all.
I went on that. So I used to, and this was back when I was fasting in that 36 hours every week. So I was doing 36 hour every week. And in that, when I was during the day, I would do all fruit until noon. But now I do that anyway. I just don't eat until 10, and then I do a massive fruit bowl.
I get different people on who dive into the science, who are doing the tests. Dr. Rhonda Patrick talked about the spike of sugar when she had a grape, because I think she's wearing a glucose monitor somewhere and testing this. And other doctors talking about how to really make sure you have moderation in fruit because of how it could spike certain things. Again, I don't know all the science, and I'm not the expert here.
Yeah.
Can you speak into that from your perspective on why having a lot of fruit or a bowl of fruit is good for you and not spiking energy levels and not doing that based on what their scientific research is saying?
You know, again, there's a lot of experts around this category too that I would lean on. But when it depends on what you've been doing. If you are a keto person, for example, you are eating all this meat, which are stopping up your ability for insulin reception. When you stop that, you look at a grape and your insulin's going to spike. You've changed and damaged your metabolism, right? So,
but if you're doing that on a consistent basis, your body's regulating more.
Potentially, but if you're eating meat, if you're eating a ton of meat, you're challenging. You are going to spike more than I would. I've used glucose monitors. I eat a bowl of fruit, and I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I can eat 4 or 5 bananas. You know, look at Mastering Diabetes. It will blow your mind. These guys are type 1 diabetic. Robbie just posted the other day, he ate, I think it was breadfruit, 4 bananas, mangoes, and these guys are type 1 glucose monitoring to the max and getting thousands of people down and off, type 1 off medication. It is what you're doing, not just at that time. Again, we're myopic in our views. What is the chemistry of going on in the body? If you're eating a bunch of meat, you're going to spike more when you're eating a bunch of
When you have fruit, it's going to spike.
My body is dialed. It's dialed to the fruit.
How long? How long would it take for someone to get more dialed?
I don't know. I mean, they can Robbie. So it's we got to look at a wider view of all of this stuff, because you could, of course, I can go run out and find. See, they spiked. Yeah, but what have they been doing for the last month? Do we have that information? Is it accurate? There's so much going on. Plus, you know, there's all this. New research. Biome's a great company that's doing all this microbiological research into like what's your system like, because you're taking a snapshot of what you've been doing and what your microbes are set up as. If it's set up for flesh of another being and meat and all of that stuff, I know it gets you every time. It's true though. Let's call it out.
I get it, man.
Right? That's what it is. And so, or if it's plant-based stuff, then your microbes are changing. It's an environment that you are creating by what you're putting in your mouth. And this is very important for this day and age right now. You are creating a terrain that is going to invite pathogens or invite it out. Because if you are strengthening yourself, vitamin D, vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, whole plants, diversifications of tannins and phenolic compounds and antioxidants, clearly that's creating a terrain that is stronger for your immune system to thwart out disease, bacteria, cancer, all of that other stuff. But if you're shoveling anything and you believe that, you know, a needle is going to save your life, it can't. It's never worked that way. Dr. Zach Bush gets into tons of this. You need to have him on if you have
Zach Bush?
Dr. Zach Bush. So he's starting, and we've talked, and changing the narrative of how the body, it's like soil systems, like monocropping. Like if you create a soil system that has no more nutrients, you have to blow chemicals on it because it's going to get annihilated. The same thing with your own microbiological system. If you're creating a strong, diversified microbiological system that you are in co-host with, like you're hosting it. You need those microbes to break down food. It is creating enzymes. It is creating vitamins for you. Our microbes are with you. But if you're creating it so that the bad bacteria is dominating, now you've created a terrain you can barely take care of yourself. You're getting colds, you're fatigued, you're all that stuff. So any other bacteria or virus that comes your way, you're compromised. You can't upgrade your system. You can't take in that information and then go. We all know that the start of life is the inoculation of your mother's vaginal canal. That is the start of your immune system. We can't sanitize our way through health. We cannot.
Right.
We will kill ourselves. We have to have this incredible diversification of microbes and virome and viruses. We have to. We always have. So, and that is, obviously that's a big topic, and Dr. Bush gets into that quite a bit, but that is the lens that we have to start looking through to create more of this balanced health, because that's where we came from and that's where we need to go.
A few final questions for you. I feel like we can go down many rabbit holes here. And you've got a lot of this information in your book, SuperLife, the 5 simple fixes that will make you healthy, fit, and eternally awesome. So make sure you guys check this out. Very powerful. Supplements. Are you a fan of supplements? If you could only have 5 supplements a day, what would those be? And do we need supplements if you're getting these other great plant diversity on a daily basis?
Food first.
Yeah.
Right? The ground level, which is why I created this book. These basic tenets of taking care of yourself, sleeping, exercising, diversification of food, exercise, moving your body, having a good attitude, right? The outlook in your life. Side note, growing young, I just interviewed Marta Zarstick, growing young. She, through over 600 research articles, the thing that influenced our health and our longevity more than anything was optimism, kindness, community through science. This is not a woo-woo thing, through science. And she's got a great book called Growing Young. So
I think I'm supposed to be interviewing her soon. Is that right, Kai? I can't remember if we have it already scheduled or if I should connect me. If
I
not.
can connect. She is fantastic.
Yeah, okay. We'll have her on.
She's a badass.
Growing Young, yeah.
Growing Young. Book. So that's just as a side. So food first, all of these principles. So supplements, whole food supplements first. Just like I said, the spirulinas, the whole foods, the careful growing. You know, there is ways of like, okay, we're low in magnesium, we're low in calcium in times, we're low in iron. Those times when you know that your body needs it, when you've tested, tested your microbiological system, when you've tested your blood, then that starts to make sense. But I just go whole food supplements, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Strengthening, because you can go big into understanding that in the early 1900s, we knew our soils were depleted. We knew that the food then is depleted. We knew this in the 1930s. The agricultural community delineated to Congress saying that this happened in the 30s. So through monocropping, through the crazy way that instead of regenerating, we're not, we've depleted. So therefore I created a career out of finding nutrient-dense whole foods, plants, herbs, botanicals. So I do believe that. Bringing it down to individual vitamins, it makes sense if you're biologically, biochemically in need of those and you've navigated through those things.
Yeah. Well, in the book, you talk about these 5 fixes. You talk about the 5 fixes. We got quality nutrition, hydration, detoxification, oxygenation, alkalization. So I want you guys to get the book so you can learn more about those 5 things you can do to really optimize your life. This is a question I ask everyone towards the end. It's called the 3 truths. So thank you for imagining for a moment your last day on earth. Hypothetical question. Many years from now, you live past 100 or as old as you want to live, and you've accomplished all your dreams from now until then. But for whatever reason, every piece of content you've created, this book and everything else, has to go with you to the next place, wherever that is. But you get a piece of paper and you get to write down 3 things you know to be true from your life and experiences that you would leave behind for the rest of us. These 3 lessons, principles, distinctions, whatever you want them to be. What would you say are your 3 truths?
Wow, dude. Like big question.
I know.
To thine own self be true, without a doubt. I listen. I will listen. It's an inside game. Listen to yourself. Find the essence of who you are outside of the monkey mind, outside of what people say. Listen to yourself. Because that is the ultimate truth, because that is connected. There is no person between you and the creator of whatever the creator is, the universe, the creator, God. Kindness, connection, love, or, I know those are a bunch, but that community of representations of our heart, and the connection, it goes down to relationships. That radical honesty, not allowing resentment, fear, or shame get in the way of authenticity, of truth. I think that to live by, but done through a kind lens, right? Done in a kind way, through compassion and empathy, but radical honesty of within yourself. What is, again, to thine own self be true. So you have to cultivate what that radical honesty is for you.
Yeah.
Because some of that is taking away or seeing where another influence, that was my dad, that was my mom, that was that pain of that relationship. Or all of that can be distraction. So what is that truth for you, as well as, for others in relationship, be authentic and truthful. So radical honesty. Third, vulnerability. The willingness to share yourself with the world. If you are willing to be vulnerable, it is a superpower without needing to have any approval. That is a superpower and untouchable and the ultimate freedom.
Yeah. Love that, man. Those are good truths. Those are powerful truths. You've got an amazing podcast people can listen to. Get this book, SuperLife. They should watch your series on Netflix with Zac Efron. Powerful series. It's entertaining and educational, which I think is really inspiring. It's called Down to Earth. And where can we go for your? You also have Baruka nuts, which I've got here, which are amazing. Which are like superfood almonds, type of thing. Yeah. So they can get products from your site. Where's the best place for your site to learn about everything that you're up to?
Yeah, so
vortexes and all these other things.
Yeah. So DarinOlien.com basically has everything up there. Barukas.com, get the nuts and see that story. It's a wild food, incredible. To be able to get a wild food out to the masses is an incredible feat for us. and planting trees and the environment and all of that. It's fantastic. So, but DarinOlien.com, Darin Olien on social, Darin Olien on Twitter, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of projects I'm super stoked to get out in the world. Environmental, health, inspirational, new technologies, all of that stuff. So yeah, you can find what I'm up to on there.
It's great, man. It's great. I'm inspired, man. You've been leading the way for a long time, helping us by educating, traveling the world, trying to find this information for yourself, obviously, but then sharing it with the rest of us so we can make sense of this world. So I acknowledge you for showing up, man, consistently, decade after decade,
Thank you.
speaking your truth based on the findings that you've found. So I appreciate it. And hopefully we can do more stuff in the future together. And I got to come to Malibu and just have you cook for a day and just let me see how you live your life and how are you drinking the water, everything. So I'm going to come experience it sometime.
100%. Yeah.
My final question for you is, what's your definition of greatness?
Oof, of course that's a question. I go back to the truths. I go back to my definition is listening to my truth and taking action, unrelenting on that. And that absolutely is greatness. Not stopping. Like before the cameras are on, your example of reaching out to guests for 5 years until you got them. That's unrelenting. That's greatness. You're demonstrating it just in this conversation before the thing on. And I'm very much, the competitive nature for me has turned into, I'm clear with helping people, helping the planet, and I will not stop. So unrelenting pursuit has less to do with the things showing up. But if you continue, serendipity, magnetism, strength, and power show up when it knows, and the universe knows without a doubt that this dude is not stopping. So let's support him.
Yeah, man. My man, Darin, thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, man. If you're looking for more greatness in your life, make sure to check out this video right here. And also check out our free PDF, The 3 Secrets to Unlock the Power of Your Mind to help you change your life. Download it right here.
You can take all the diabetes drugs you want. You can take all the blood pressure drugs you want. But if your lifestyle and your diet is causing the diabetes, it's not going to work.